As a part of week 3 series of lecture on issues in intellectual property right, this particular lecture is trying to explore the different issues involved in copyright and related rights. So, let me begin with this introduction that more recently protection of copyright across the world is has become more difficult due to the technological improvements. And this technological improvement or development has created a new environment in which content sharing, downloading, uploading of contents became extremely easy and very less expensive. So, we are finding that the massive increase day by day is in the use of internet platforms like social media has escalated the fear for the protection of the copyright materials. So, this type of environment is really putting us new direction to rethink and find the ways to really finalize a proper balance of copyright from unauthorized use without hampering the creative works. So, with this background, let me discuss the certain issues which is involved in the copyright, and one of the major issue is the rise of technology. So, one thing which comes in our mind is whether this rise of technology is a fear or it is a strength, it is a weak point or a strong point. And seeing the global market for content and copyright holders that have been created and completely full by the massive increase in the digital economy, which facilitates by the diffusion of broadband and consolidated with increase in computing powers and storage, now it is quite difficult and quite challenging task for the copyright owner to really counter this type of challenge in coming days. So, however, there is a risk of protection of copyrights, and piracy is going to damage the creative works because of the growing digital works. And when we say going to damage the creative work, it means that the creativity as a whole is being challenged by the digital world because the creators or the owner of copyright materials are not really in the position to save or to make it secure work for those who really demands those copyrighted material on the paid basis. The fact is that these digital tools are infringing the copyrights because the copyright owner is not able to really get the benefit out of it with the help of digital technology. Infringers are taking the benefit of infringing the rights of the copyright owner, and ultimately the owner who has to get the benefit, who has to get the return, they are not really in the position to get the return, and this entire environment is providing us a very disincentive environment for the copyright owners, and it really hampers the creative works. And whether it is the film industry or whether it is the book industry, everywhere we find this challenge due to the digital interferences. So, intellectual property rights are day by day becoming significant for sharing the innovations, encouraging creativity and building consumer trust. So, however, in the age of this digital technology and its fast growing rate, the new challenges appeared in the managing the copyrights. When the consumer is the creator, and sometime when I am or anybody else is really willing to get the product copyrighted material, and when we find that there are certain available materials which is not really asking for the price which is the price asked by the real copyright owner, as a customer we find a very different condition where a copyright material, a material which is copyrighted, suppose if it is available in $10 or probably 650 rupees, and the non copyrighted material is available in $0 or maybe with the payment of $2, the customers, a bulk of customer is finding very easy to select this type of non-copyrighted material as their choice of consumption. So, consumers of copyright materials are trying to get involved in the consumption of non-copyrighted material, and they are not looking for the copyrighted material because there is a price difference, and that price difference makes us or makes a consumer really willing to get the benefit of those materials which is easily available with the help of information technology tools. So, as a owner of the copyrighted material, it is true that marginal cost of copying is 0, because what we have to expend is what we have to incur, the cost is nothing. But the point is the problem of copyright violation will be difficult to reduce, because large number of people are available in the market to have to involve in such practice, which motivates them to get money out of investing almost or out of investing 0 cost in copying the material. So, there is a huge cost involved in the administration of copyright material by the real copyright owner. So, one side you have invested in terms of in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of your creativity, but in return you have, after all your investment in terms of time, money, in terms of ideas and creation, what new is available in the market for you is a new challenge, not a new opportunity. So, the fact is that the challenge is more bigger than the new opportunities which is waiting for you in the world market. So, you have a great challenge ahead, and that great challenge is just extremely a difficult challenge. So, in this scenario, free access to information and content is not a local demand. So, non-copyrighted material is not a material which is demanded locally. It is not a local demand, but today we find that such non-copyrighted material is becoming the matter for the global demand. So, this local versus global, when we had less technology in our hand, the copying of the material was localized, but when we have not only copying of the material was localized, but the transmission of those materials was also localized at the local level. But when we have fast reaching internet sources and information technology today, all these materials are globally demanded and globally supplied, and it is fastly it has the fast transmission from one economy to other economy, one customer to other customers. So, the challenge is that how copyright laws will respond to the technological change. This is the major challenge today for the copyright material. So, the digital piracy, in some of our lectures we have seen the gene piracy, we have seen the case of biopiracy, but here we are finding, in case of copyright, we are finding the case of digital piracy. So, piracy is a function of the market for the copyrighted materials. The more weak the market is, the more limited piracy will occur. But piracy and sales are stimulating. The fact is that piracy crowd out the legitimate sales from copyright owners. So, piracy and counterfeiting occurs as a result of inadequate standard of copyright protection, and there is found to be highly inverse correlation between the piracy and the level of economic development. As we have also discussed, the way world is busy in copying the material with the help of information technology, and how fast it is being transmitted from one economy to other economy, that really demotivate the creator of the copyright material. So, whether a author or the publisher or the film producer, they all are it is true that they have the real customers ready also to watch the movie in the big cinema hall, but at the same time there is a parallel market available in the world where these movies are also watched by the people who has not really paid for the paid any cost to the real producer of the film. So this entire piracy, the digital piracy business, is really demotivating the investors and the producers to have the copyright material in the coming world today. So this is one of the major issue which we have to really see. So there is incidence of widespread and cross-border and virtually uncontrolled copyright infringement in the age of digitalization, because simplicity of digital reproduction, the ease and speed of digital transmission, which we have also discussed, and the ease of digital manipulation is on a very high speed. So the infringement of copyright works, whether it is music or motion or pictures or TV programs or CDs or DVDs, software, books, computer, videos or games, video games, these all are becoming a far greater threat to the creators, and the way digital piracy is growing and becoming day by day intense, we do have nothing except demotivating the creators in coming years. So copyright and digital piracy is a problem because it is difficult to recognize the infringers. The information technology tools are good in the sense that it is copying the material, but it is not giving you a proper clue that when it was happened, how it was happened, who did it, because sometimes technology is blind. So how to determine the jurisdiction and applicable law? Because the world is huge and the internet database and the resources are so well networked in the world today that it might show that somebody from India is doing that, but the fact is that the such infringement with the proper investigation may be found by some infringer outside India. So enforcement of the judgments against the infringers again becoming a major issue, and those infringers are well aware with the recent technology and recent IT based system and also the IT law and the IPR law of any country. So digital piracy is a problem, and there are certain issues which a large number of industries are facing, such as the television, songs and musics and films, publishing, software, entertainment and video games that are being badly affected due to the illegal copying and dissemination of copyright materials. So one of the important data, more than 40 billion files illegally shared in 2008. The estimates of the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry is giving this data, and huge volume of illegal downloads. Annual losses to the music industry is estimated to $3.5 to $8 billion. This is some of the data which really showing the music piracy going on in the world today. And apart from this, if we see the data related to the movie, US authorities have shut down 9 websites that offers free access to movie in July 2010. So internet movie database, some of the names are here. Blinkbox are one of the example of the success which can largely be attributed to the internet and digitalization of the film industry. Large number of sites provides downloading facilities of movies even before its official release or hours just after their release. 50% of households have illegally downloaded movie in South Korea, reported by the Korean Film Council, and it constitutes the losses to the DVD market of US $1 billion. So these are some of the statistics which is eye-opener to understand that how fast this digital challenges we are having in the field of copyright. So physical piracy, hardware-based unauthorized access, unauthorized pre-broadcasting and extraterritorial television access are 4 issues related to the copyright material which is related to the broadcast. So when we see the software related piracy, both physical and digital piracy is also on a very high speed in the software industry. And the Business Software Alliance estimated that the piracy accounts for about 40% of the global copyright market. So, this large volume and the value of software were obtained illegally worldwide, and one problem is that some companies purchase a limited user license and then install the software on many computers or servers. So, counterfeiting and illegal piracy are all threats for the software industry, like the film industry or the broadcasting and some other copyrighted material. So, in entertainment industry, especially gaming is somehow more protected, because gaming software are technically difficult to intimate or copy, and the industry has developed models that are more protected from piracy compared to other copyrighted material. So, the share of copyright industries in GDP and employment for both developed and developing countries can be seen from a statistical comparison now. And as the table showed that the share of copyright industries in GDP and employment is relatively low in developing country compared to the developed country. So, if we see the data related to United States, the percentage of GDP, the share of copyright industries in United States GDP is 11.25%, while the 8.3% population or the workforce is employed in this particular copyright related industries. While if we see the data related to Jordan, the percentage of GDP is 2.4% of the copyright industries, and the employment is again 2.88 only. We can also see one of the other example from Australia, where the copyright industry contributes 6.6% of GDP, while it contributes 8% in employment. So, this shows that more developed countries are more well enough in terms of contributing to the GDP and the percentage of employment. This is the data from the World Intellectual Property Organization. So, there are huge impact of digital piracy on socio-economic side, or also on the right holder side, effects on the consumers, effects on the government. So, on socio-economic side, no innovation and growth, criminal activities, environment, employment, foreign direct investment and trade are related. So, effects on rights holder, on sales volume and prices, brand value and firm's reputation, royalties and firm level investment, and cost and the scope of operations are attached with the effects on rights holders. As a part of the consumer, the health and safety risk and consumer utility is again one of the major issue. And in terms of the government's revenue, if all these unauthorized users and unauthorized producers are available in the market, the tax revenue is also declining, because we are not aware that who has downloaded and who has uploaded copyrighted material, and it really rampages the level of corruption. You can make it as the digital corruption, and you can also consider it as the expenditure side of the government will be affected, because government is losing the revenue. So, impact of various forms of piracy can be seen from this particular table: the software piracy, music piracy, and in case of software piracy, we are finding that 39% of the software installed on computers around the world was not properly licensed in 2015. Again, in terms of music piracy, according to Digital Music Report 2015, some 400 billion music had been downloaded via BitTorrent P2P file sharing alone, with 20% of the fixed line internet usage worldwide. This regularly access service that offer pirated music. In 2011, the total loss to book publishers in India was up to 20 million Indian rupees due to book piracy. So, in case of video game piracy, between 2004 to 2009, file sharing sites downloaded illegally nearly $42 billion worth of Sony, PSP and other DS games according to the study by the Computer Entertainment Suppliers Association. So, the movie Piracy, around one of the movie was downloaded 2 lakh times, and this shows that there is a varieties of piracy going on, whether it is advertisement or television and broadcasting piracy. In each type of copyrighted material, whether it is book, whether it is film, whether it is game, whether it is advertisement or television and broadcasting material, we are finding a large number of piracy going on. So, what are basically the measures to reduce online piracy? The private sector has created a number of successful voluntary partnerships to reduce online piracy, such as the copyright alert system, the Trust Accountability Group's brand integrity program against piracy, and the in-house software asset management. So, but these are the technical tools, and when we are really discussing about the entire copying, especially in the digital world, there are several issues related with the copyright and related rights. One challenge is non-digital challenge, where some of the authors are also infringing the rights of other authors. Some of the film producers are infringing the rights of established film producers. Those are at the level of concept, where the stories are stolen, where the music is stolen and reproduced. But at the same time, there is a huge number of copying of those materials through the IT tools, and not only copying, but also the transmitting of those materials from one part to other part of the world. So, we can say that we are more globalized, but we are more globalized to get the benefit of those materials which is available through the digital piracy. But overall loss is to the society, to the economy as a whole, because neither the creators are getting the benefit of such digital piracy, nor the consumer in the long run will be really happy to be benefited, because maybe after certain generation the art, the music, the culture, or the book or the story which is available through certain publisher, certain producer, they might not be able to be produced by these people, because if the high level of disincentives will be involved, and if there is a huge loss paid to by the producer, and if there is a great setback to the author or to the musician, then in that case it will be really very hard to get such creative material and copyrighted material to the consumers. So, there is a need to find out the measures to overcome from piracy, which is one of the most pressing issue today. So, the creating an environment that promotes creativity and innovation, and which fosters the competition, protests the free speech, which ensures the legal ensuring the legal exploitations of the digital technology. These are necessitating the balance between the protection and fair use and dissemination of knowledge. So, this particular lecture is basically giving you the idea that how fast these copyrighted materials are being challenged, and one of the major issue today is to handle those digital piracy with appropriate copyright law, and it is really difficult to follow the those piracy from the existing law. So, the copyright law and the IT law or the copyright protection law and the IT law are not really complementing to each other, because information technology is really fast enough. It is changing very fast every day. It is facing a new change, and in that case the copyright law is not really able to follow what type of changes are there. And since large number of digital piracy is going on, and creators and the owners of the copyright materials are really uncertain about their future. So, this particular issue is one of the great issue for everyone to understand, and there is a economics behind the copyright material, and if we do not have proper protection, the level of disincentive is going to hamper the entire demand and supply equilibrium of the copyright material. Thank you.